take a little bit of time out this evening. I'm in my home while I set my lovely doll here. She's been up in braids for a while and I want to do something a little different. I thought I'd take a few minutes to reintroduce myself. My name is Tiffany Hallmark. I go by the business name of Coiffeuse Extraordinaire, and I am here as a as a full-time behind-the-chair stylist, part-time educator. I have many skills. I thought I'd show a couple of my sweet dolls here. This lovely lady was actually created by doing what I call my million foil blondes, and to achieve this very beautiful natural looking blonde result, I actually ended up doing about, let's see, 164 foils. The head, because I weighed it, weighed 2.7 pounds. Pretty incredible. 6 hours of work and I get this beautiful blonde. So that's something that is in my wheelhouse. We have this, we have a lovely multi-tonal, somewhat natural looking redhead. And then as a comparison, just to show, I can also do the same. This is literally the same technique, just one on a very straight-ish hair and one on super curly, darker hair. But I can do almost anything. And then I have a little flair for some retro vibes, retro styling. I also really like what I got with this lovely color here, this beautiful balayage ombre look, and depending on the lighting changes how her color looks. So it's sometimes looks really beautiful ashy kind of mushroom brown, and then sometimes it looks very like rich auburn with caramel, all dependent on lighting entirely. So those are just a few of the dolls. I have probably, well, I know I have over 20 all in my house. I use most of them for teaching and sharing color techniques, information about the color line from Matrix, as that is my color brand. Sheesh. That's where my brains go. And I just realized I'm gonna have to hit a little pause on here because I need to go get a water bottle. So excuse me while I do that. And we're back. I'll turn my back to the camera as I'm trying to chat. We'll see how well I can keep this lovely lady standing up, generally speaking. I say a lot. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. Her hair is very long, very thick. She is my most expensive doll head. I believe it was at least $200, which is pretty impressive for, it's just a competition doll. She comes complete with a bit of décolletage. Anyways, I'm just, because I don't feel like washing the doll right now, I'm just going to use a little bit of water to set the hair in the way that I want it. I'm kind of letting my whims guide this. Sometimes I do follow old publications. In this case, boy, her hair is so long. I'm going to have to start lower. So I will follow old publications and old set patterns. Today I'm just going to set her hair as we get to know me a little bit more. So I'm curling her forward. I only have a handful of hairpins, so I'm going to use the hairpins on the sides, and then I will switch to using clips on the back because I really do only have so many. I much prefer using hairpins just because I think that they do a better job of not denting the hair quite so much. And I really only, well, she's not really prepped with much. I put a little bit of brilliantine on her hair, and the secret there is that brilliantine is literally just Vaseline. That's a fun, it was petrolatum and fragrance. I should be more specific. Petrolatum and fragrance, and this was one of the original pomades. So for my sweet lady here, it actually adds some suppleness to the hair, and I didn't add very much. I also gave her a little bit of a pre-treatment with the Instacure, and then my little sample size of a Curl Can Dream, the Scrunch and Go Defining Spray. It's a very lightweight spray. It's not super heavy. And since I don't want to have to wait for days for her hair to dry and set up, I figured that was probably the simplest thing I could use for that. I'm just taking each of these and I'll show you if I can get her off the stand. She gets really stuck. Ugh. Okay. So what I have done here is make X's in each of these curls, and you'll notice this one coming forward, this one behind it is laying on top of it, and this one is laying on top of that. So that's just a little bit of how the, all right, now I'm gonna see if I can make sure this thing stays standing. I got troubles with my stand. So I'm gonna make another row here that's about, I don't know, an inch thick. I really absolutely adore all kinds of vintage styles. I not only your 1940s kind of finger waves and pin curls, although you can tell I'm very fond of pin curls, but I also enjoy really very much the late 19th century as one of my favorite eras. It is definitely a different time for hair care. You would have, I mean, first of all, I am definitely not, well, I don't look the part of the late 19th century, mostly for the sake of I am very proudly missing hair off the sides and back of my head. Oh, for Christ's sake, will you please? Just this stand drives me nuts. I think I'll be able to get it to stay. I also really just enjoy understanding the history of my profession, because in order to, I feel, have a firm foundation in the craft that I do, I need to understand where it is that we came from. Like, what were people doing before these modern days? When did people start doing? I have a question I don't know that I will ever get answered, but I continue to search for the answer, which is, when did we, as humans and as a species, I suppose we could say, when did we start cutting hair? And why? My guess is that the why of it all would be that if you look at natural growth patterns on anybody's head, it would tend towards falling in the face. If you don't clip it back or do something, it will fall forward over your face. And my thought is that trying to decide, I think I'm just going to do one more row on this side. My thought is that utilitarian purposes being, I'm trying to hunt and gather food and everything, and I can't see. There's stuff in my face. So utilitarian reasoning would suggest finding some way to get the hair off your face, especially as we developed the genetic disposition towards straighter hair, that at some point you would think, well, I'm gonna have to get it off somehow. So maybe taking a sharp rock, something like that, before we even get to metals. And just for utilitarian purposes, cutting the darn things off, right around the face. But at some point, our species graduated from utilitarian reasons, and I still don't know when that happened. I would love to find out. To fashion, to cuts that were more than utilitarian, that showcased our ranking in society, where we stood socially, perhaps even so much as showing wealth. Like, if you could afford to have somebody cut your hair in some fashion, that perhaps you could afford other things, showing you have the good life. And then I don't know, I'm still very much curious, because my whole job, everything that I do, has absolutely nothing to do with our physical health. You don't even need hair to be healthy. You need nice looking hair to appear healthy. The longer, shinier, more lustrous hair you have, the more that you appear to be reproductively viable, and that's a very big part of what it is that I do. I don't know any other species on the planet that still wants to look like they could make babies when they are very much past the age when they can. And yet, here we as the human species, we keep going. We keep coloring the hair. I only color a streak of mine, but, you know, if I wanted to appear younger and more vibrant and full of life, part of the way to do that would be to grow my hair and color it so that there were no visible gray hairs, and there would cause I would cause the appearance of being younger and fertile, even if I am, and I don't know if I am, but even if I were past my reproductive prime and getting pregnant or, you know, propagating the species, just wouldn't be part of my thing. But we do this all the time. There are, and it's not just limited to women. We also have men who, using various methods, disguise the fact that they're maybe a little past their reproductive prime, that they're still young and capable and healthy and just going about their day, and you know that they're younger than they are, more reproductively healthy and healthy in general. Shiny, lustrous hair says I'm healthy. I have enough nutrients in my body to maintain a head of hair. Our body is really good at putting hair, as it were, on the bottom of the list as far as health goes, because if you get sick, or even if you get stressed out, your hair will take a backseat by a large ratio. Gosh darn it. I think I'm almost out of my hairpins. It's a bummer. I couldn't find my regular hairpins, and I don't want to use bobby pins, so I guess if I run out of hairpins, I'll switch over to using the little clips. Not ideal, but it'll do. But we, as an entity, our hair doesn't have any, I'm going to say, like, any backflow. So if, you know, sometimes things can get relegated to the hair because it's not going to be back in the body once it's been deposited into the hair shaft, which is why you can do things like drug testing on hairs, because you can see where that happened, or other health and nutrition changes. So if you are healthy enough to have nice, shiny, lustrous hair, it is an indicator that you are bodily healthy. But you don't actually need hair to be healthy. I've known plenty of people who are perfectly healthy and bald as can be. My grandpa, for one. My job is not vital in the health realm. It is, however, vital for a couple reasons. One being what I might call our social health. Dang it, I guess I switched to clips now. So by that I mean looking a certain way to appeal to persons of the gender that you fancy, looking a certain way to show your status in society, looking a particular way to just express yourself artistically, show your personality. And when you are not feeling the best, when you are going out and about and really not feeling like you look your prettiest or most handsome, it does affect how you feel about your circumstances, just in general. And also, I get to fulfill a social, biological need for human touch. Think, if you will, what happens when somebody, unless you have sensory issues, and I can absolutely understand that, but in general, if somebody that, usually in most cases it would be if somebody that cares for you were to run their fingers through your hair, you're going to feel awfully nice about it. We have nerve endings that are made to respond for the sake of social grooming. I'm thrilled that we don't have to pick ticks and help our neighbors clear parasites off. I don't need to eat small bugs to supplement my protein intake, thank goodness. But we still have the nerve endings and the neural response that says somebody touching my head feels good. Somebody touching my head is relaxing, because you're not going to, if you are in any kind of danger, you're not going to be able to just let somebody sit there and put their hands all over your scalp. It's just not going to happen. But when you feel safe and you feel comfortable, then having somebody touch your head, touch your scalp, wash your hair. Thanks, ma'am. Stay standing. Will you please give me a second? Let me reset. I have to find just the perfect spot where she won't. Will you please? I'm begging. There. Let me see if I can get her to stay. It is so comforting, and it feels good, and it releases oxytocin. And oxytocin is a chemical in our body that is the connection chemical. Skin-to-skin contact, when you have a loving partner, when you give a hug to friends and family, you get oxytocin released. Oxytocin release means that you feel connected. Now, what does that mean for my job? Okay, this one, I'm going to grab one of my bigger pins, because it is huge, and I know that isn't going to stay with a clip. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So part of my job is not even on the, well, it's physical, but it fills a socio-psychological piece, which is that I'm touching one of the most intimate parts of the human body. I don't often think about it, but imagine if I just walked up to you in the middle of the shopping mall and I don't know you, and I just start putting my hands on your head. I'm likely to get punched at a minimum, possibly more, depending on somebody's particulars. So with that, you know, being aware that I am in a space reserved for literally maybe one other person, and yet I'm here and doing all of the little, gosh dang it, will you stop it? You know, I'm touching a part of the body that is very, I would almost say, like, will you almost say sacred. Like, it is definitely, I need you to just stay put. You know, pardon my language. I need to, will you just please, baking. See if I can crank down the, nope, that's going the wrong way. Please, I beg. Back to what I was speaking of, that, you know, I am in a very intimate space, so especially for people who don't have a lot of friends, or maybe have to stay at home for various reasons, I may be the only person that actually physically touches somebody, and that is a responsibility I do not take lightly. I know that I am fulfilling something that isn't just hair, just hair. It is something that is vitally important to every one of us, that we have someone who can, you know, help us feel wanted and taken care of. And then I get the added bonus of being able to do art. Part of my job is art. Part is science, part is understanding chemistry and anatomy and physiology and things of that nature, but part of it is just simply social. Very, very social. I know that some people, you know, just want to feel better. I have definitely been the person that has to fix things. Somebody's had a bad experience, whether self-inflicted, or I think it's sometimes even worse if it came from a professional, and I get to be the fixer. I get to be the person that makes them feel better. Sometimes the best we can aim for is, can I make it tolerable until it grows back? Then that's what we're going to aim for. And sometimes it is, can I give you your dream hair? And maybe I can. Maybe I can do that. Some people come up with ideas that aren't necessarily the most possible. But even in that, I can find out what it is they like about it, what it is that they think is amazing about somebody else's hair. And nowadays, these AI generated hairstyles, which is unfortunately a lot of it. But I can find out, well, what is it that you like about it? And sometimes it's literally, oh, I just like this person. I think the model is pretty, which then translates to, and if I got that kind of hair or hairstyle, then I would be pretty too. If I only had this kind of thing, then I would be pretty too. People don't think of it that way. People think of, you know, oh well, I like my hair this kind of way, and I think that it would be fun to wear it like this. But partly, and for the gents, they don't often bring pictures. Occasionally, sometimes with some of the more um, off the average kind of styles. I don't say out of the norm, just things that maybe aren't, you know, your short back and sides styles. That, you know, if it's not that they want to be pretty too, it's that I want to look cool. I want to have some kind of social status with my hairstyle. I want to display my personality. And I get to share all of that with everybody. And I love being able to do that. I am not the person to go to if you're looking for a total makeover, do whatever you want. I'm not your gal. I am much more, let's work together and collaborate to make something that works and is functional. And sure, you can't always tell me what you do want, but if somebody can tell me what they don't want, we can work with that. I just don't have the skill set to be able to massive makeover somebody. Mostly for the sake of, you can do the best, most wonderful, technically correct hair in the world, and if that's not how the person wants to see themselves when they look in the mirror on a daily basis, it's not the right haircut. It's not the right hair color. I've seen things that I've done that I've been remarkably proud of, and it's not what my client wants, and therefore I didn't do my job to the utmost of my ability, for the sake of they don't see themselves. I've had to fix people that have tried to do something and then it comes out slightly not correct, and they want to hide, and I want to fix it and make people feel better, help them feel better, and encouraging, you know, understanding in how hair functions, understanding in how color functions, help them see how to get as close to their dream hair as we can make happen. Also, you know, reminding them that I'm an illusionist, not a magician. I can create illusions all day long. I cannot magically give you what you want. At least as far as it goes. And even if I could, generally speaking, you likely wouldn't be satisfied because, oh, I have the thing that I've exactly wanted. I don't know what to do with it. It's not what I'm used to. So if somebody, you know, oh, I really want curly hair, and then they get a perm, which, if you must, don't mind wrapping them. In fact, I quite enjoy wrapping perms. I just don't like that the chemicals haven't gotten much improvement from, you know, their inception in the 1940s. But, you know, somebody gets a perm and they're like, ah, this is going to solve all of my problems because now I'm going to have the curly hair that I've always wanted. And then they realize they don't know how to handle curly hair. They don't know how to take care of it or the special things. And of course, it's partly my job to educate and share how to care for it. But if somebody is accustomed to their hair behaving in one way and one way only, even if you could give them the dream hair that has the right amount of wave or the curls or the straight or the any number of things, if they don't know how to handle it, what good does it do? They're not going to honestly be able to enjoy their hair because they're sitting there going, yeah, but it's not fill in the blank. It's not, I don't know what to do with it. Every morning I wake up and it looks like a fuzzball or anything. And also helping people understand that some of the styles that they look for are doable, but how much are they willing to put in? And by that, I mean, if you have normally straight hair, you have found a style that has some curl, some wave to it, you really like it, we can tell that it's going to look really good on your facial features, but it requires styling. Well, most people are going to go, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'll ask, well, how much time do you want to spend on your hair daily? I'll give you 5 minutes. I'll spend 5 minutes on it. Well, then this isn't the style for you. That's just, unfortunately, how it has to be. I have yet to find anybody in the world to say, you know what I'd really love to spend at least 45 minutes every morning mad and, not be able to get the hair that I thought I really, really wanted because I'm so upset that it's not functioning, or that I even have that much time for styling. That's another thing. A lot of people don't. So I get to be in a profession where I go with the customer is always right until they are wrong. I have found that there is a finish to that phrase. Customer is always right in matters of taste. So in my particulars, if I get a customer who really wants a mullet, it's not my idea of the nicest hairstyle, but if that is what they want, it's a matter of taste. They can have the best darn mullet I'm capable of cutting, even if I'm not thrilled with the style. And it goes for many things. However, the customer is not right when it comes to matter of policy or physics. That's the other part. Or chemistry or pricing or anything like that. And most of the time I don't have too many wrong customers, but occasionally. And usually that just comes down to, oh, you are using a word to describe something that I wouldn't. So it's not so much as being wrong as just slightly misinformed. And if that's the case, then I just really work with looking at people's inspiration and go, oh, you mean, or I would call it fill in whatever. And then they go, oh, okay, and then no problem. The other time that generally I would consider a client to be wrong would be if they want a hair color that would compromise the strength of their hair far too much, compromise their hair's integrity. And if that's the case, then by golly, I'm going to tell them, if I do this, your hair may not survive. So if you're cool with the backup plan of a pixie cut, then we got this. If you are not, and you would rather keep as much hair as you can, we can't do that particular hair color activity. It's just how it has to be. The fun part is that I get to play with all kinds of different people. I get to meet people in all walks of life and share my passion with everybody. Sometimes maybe a little more enthusiastically than they were ready for. As one might be able to tell, I do enjoy talking. I will work to match the conversation level that my client is comfortable with, but if given the opportunity, I will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So that's something that I am currently working on in my personal ways of being, which is to see what my client likes, and also maybe not just, speaking about myself. Now, some people, they're cool with it because they'd rather, turn off their brains and not talk about their life. And sometimes they want to talk exclusively about their life, including but not limited to possible, somebody might be having an affair, or possible interesting life situations, such as knowing somebody who has a certain rather it was a client of mine many years ago that was very concerned that a young friend of hers had HIV and was wanting to know if she should share that information with guests of a bridal shower. I told her no, that's not. I can't imagine what kind of party you'd be having that would even matter. But this gal was a bit of an older gal, and I just don't think she understood the implications of telling all of the guests that if the bride-to-be hadn't chosen to do that herself. And my client was much more concerned with the social implications of, yeah, but what if they find out and that they knew that I knew and I didn't tell them? Well, by golly, that's still not your place. She was so sometimes you get stuff like that. Sometimes you get, real life stuff, people going through all kinds of various hard times, and just getting their hair done might be just a one bright spot that they get to have in their otherwise really, really crappy current life circumstances. So, being there for people for that, I'm always willing to be a sympathetic ear and maybe offer advice if asked for. On the downside is that many times if I've had a day at work where I've been doing a lot of that kind of interaction, I'm going to come home and hide for a while. I don't necessarily my energy gets really, really, really pulled sometimes. And so I just come home and recover. I get to be my own boss, which is pretty super cool. Sometimes I'm a hard gal to work for, but that means I get to set my schedule. I get to decide what kinds of offerings that I bring to the table. And which means I only currently work 4 days a week and add extra days if necessary, and then spend a lot of times 1 day a week if I need to in my education role with Matrix, that I can take the time to present classes, but still get a day off if I'm running 3 days off instead of just 2. And that is important to me, to be able to keep that quote-unquote work-life balance. However, I could do, well, I can do hair all day, every day. I think it's more the energetic human interactions that can kind of wipe me for a little while. So 4 days a week is sufficient for me. I can do enough work to be as successful as I choose, and that is perfectly fine. I figure, you know, if I get so busy as to need a 5th day at work, I can do that. But for now, 4 is good. I can fit everybody in that wants to be in, and not worry too much if, you know, occasionally I'm a little busier than maybe I might otherwise have been. But I'm quite happy. I can't imagine doing anything other than what I do. I hope someday I can be the social pages, but, you know, a public interest story of, you know, being over 100 and still doing hair, and not because I have to. I don't want to be she's over 100 and still doing hair because, you know, she can't afford to retire, but more like my body and my dexterity and everything are still, and my mind is still fully functioning and capable of doing, even if I'm, you know, 100 plus, because that would be cool. I know it's maybe not for everybody, but I would like to still be capable of doing it while not having to do it. Because I can't imagine doing anything else. I mean, the only thing that might be eventually, I would like to get a PhD in anthropology, but very specific to social anthropology and hair related topics. So that is also in my, will you please stop it, ma'am? So that's something that I do consider for, you know, maybe a next step in my life. Perhaps I shift from behind the chair work to more academic things, and that would be okay too. I'm absolutely fine with that as well. I have switched back to my giant bobby pins or my giant hairpins because if I can just stick it in. That's what he said. I'm also sometimes very juvenile in my sense of humor. But I had to switch because this top section, just like the top section in the front, just has way too much hair to be able to secure with the little single prong clips. So giant, I might have to redo that one. Yes, I'm going to redo it. It's too wide. I need to fix it. There we go. Let's do this. Try again. Take 2. So that's a little about me, and well, it's not really in a nutshell. I pretty much took all my time to share all kinds of wonderful little things. I don't know how many people will be interested in my hair story. I will course, be continuing to try and make some content for social medias, try and improve my presence and see if anybody, if anybody's interested. Or I just post this for my own sake, that someday I can look back and go, yes, when I was in my mid-40s, here's what I was doing, here's where I was, here's the kinds of things that I was working on, here's all the things. Once it's on the internet, it's there forever, so that's something. But I do hope that this gave a little little new introduction to myself and my madness to my method. I absolutely adore hair and hairstyling and vintage styling and vintage styling, antique styling. I love everything, especially the history of hair, and I love the fact that my job's not getting replaced. No matter how much certain tech companies talk about creating robots and AI-driven everything to do everything, I just don't think that technology will have come far enough to be able to replace what it is that I do as a human, and aside from a small handful of tech enthusiasts, I really don't see anybody trusting technology enough to be able to do what it is that I do, both with the technical aspects, like the actual, like in this case, the hair set, or also the intuitive aspects, the being able to look at or talk with somebody and say like, oh, I see this is something that, gosh dang it, I see this is something that your hair does that maybe a machine wouldn't catch. And that is something that I am proud of, that I get to do that I get to be that person that can do things on somewhat of an intuition. I really think it's just a lot of practice. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I feel like I'm not in any danger of losing my job to technology. I do know that things will shift and change as economies shift and change and the world kind of adjusts to a new norm, but I don't think my job's going anywhere. So I'm very proud and happy about that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video here, and then tomorrow after her hair is dry, I will take it and style it, and I'll decide tomorrow if I will record another piece as I am taking the hair down and combing it out. So I will bring her forward, yank her off this thing real quick. Come on, lady. Yeah, got her. So what we have here is her first. So these curls are going to make a finger wave. So these ones are going forwards, backwards, forwards. Same on this side, forwards, backwards, forwards. Finger waves in the front, and then in the back, all of the curls curl towards the front, away from the part. down the middle. So we shall see what she turns out like once she is dry. I am happy to be able to share that when we get there. So thanks for watching this part, and in case I don't end up filming, then I say thank you for watching. Thank you for tagging along as I just blither on about the job that I love.